Yeah, my name is Adrian Mills. I'm an alcoholic. Um, I was born in the mid-70s in England, and I moved to America at a young age. My entire time growing up, I never really felt like I belonged anywhere, and I think that was kind of probably the beginning of my alcoholic career, if you will. I moved back to England when I was 13. I really felt out of place, and I started turning to alcohol and drugs in my teenage years to kind of help me get through everything. That became really part of my definition of myself, for sure. I eventually moved back to America in 1995, which was fortuitous for me because it was during the dot-com boom. At the time, I was going to university for computer science. So I got into supporting computers, and I kind of took off from there. I was very successful in business. I worked for a lot of very large companies, setting up data centers. The whole time, I was drinking. I consider myself a functional alcoholic, but the truth was I needed alcohol to function at that point. This drinking career went on for about 20 years. I didn't have a whole lot of repercussions like most people. I didn't have the DWIs or the public intoxications. My first charge was the charge that brought me here. In 2014, I woke up in the hospital and found out that I had been driving. Was driving on the seawall in Galveston and had struck another vehicle and had killed the driver and injured the passenger. And I had bottoms before that. I had time where I checked myself into mental institutions. I had tried keeping sober, but nothing before it ever stuck. But that day definitely not only obviously changed the life of somebody else, but it changed mine as well. Once I found out what had happened, I don't think I've been ever more scared of anything in my life. I didn't know who I was, which I think was already true, but I realized I didn't know who I was. And I had to give something a shot. I had to try something. When I bonded out of jail in Galveston, I went directly to a treatment center in Dickinson, Texas, a wonderful place. And that's where I was first introduced to AA. I really didn't want to do it. I had no concept of a higher power, but I was out of options. It was the last house on the block for me. As soon as I started working the steps with a sponsor, everything changed. I just caught on fire for the program, and started sponsoring people as soon as I was able. I worked through the steps. Started chairing meetings. So the whole time I was bonded out waiting for sentencing on this charge, I was very active in AA. And then when I came into prison, I hit the holiday unit here in Texas, and they had AA, and I signed up immediately, and we had a very small group. I think we only had a dozen or so people as I lay in, and we did a little bit of recovery there too. In 2017, I came to the Walls unit here, and it's got one of the oldest AA groups in the entire state. We're about to have our 74th anniversary for the Pathfinders group here at the Walls unit. The group here is probably the biggest. I don't know if it's the biggest in Texas as far as AA is concerned in prison, but it's got to be up there. We tend to have a good 30 to 50 people at all of our meetings. And AA here is very strong. We have open calls so people can come and go, and we do sponsorship inside, and we work step studies, and this has been some of the best AA. After chairing meetings in the free world for a couple of years, the AA here is just as good, if not, we definitely get people at the bottom when they come here. It's completely changed my perspective on life. Before coming to AA, I didn't realize how self-centered and just absorbed in myself I was. I didn't really look at other people the same way I do now. it's not so much that, when I first started working the steps, I thought, okay, this is going to help me stop drinking, it's going to help me stop drugging. I thought that was the whole purpose of it. And as soon as we start working the steps, we realize that the alcohol really isn't the problem, it's just a symptom. Once we get down to the causes and conditions, once you start doing some inventory, once you start reflecting on yourself and look at all of your actions and the consequences and how you've approached and react things in the wrong way, and realizing you don't have control over everything. I no longer try to control everything. I know it's not my job to. I rely on a higher power for everything else. The steps have changed the way I interact with everybody around me. They changed the way I apply myself. I used to spend probably 70% of my time before recovery either complaining about things or worrying about them, which neither one of those is my job. Taking that 70% of just basically mind noise out of my life has had a huge impact. I can now spend my energy in better ways focusing on other people. I'm starting to see a universal truth in a lot of these programs. Bridges to Life here was fantastic. It had all of the steps on reconciliation, on what real forgiveness looks like, being able to come to terms and accept what you've done, accept your past so that you can move on into a future. And also it created a empathy between us as offenders and the victims, to realize a lot of the stages that people go through are the same. Once some sort of act has been committed, the family and the offender usually go through the same sort of recovery process. So Bridges to Life was great. The other one I recently completed was the Cognitive Life Skills class, and that was unbelievable. It really focused on, again, analyzing, where you come from, looking at your feelings, understanding that feelings are just information, just trying to tell you something. They're not the most important things in the world, and showing us how to watch our thoughts, process our thoughts, so that we can stop, negative things from happening before they become actions. So I think with that, and I'm also taking this Beyond Success class, which has been really good as well. It's a management level training program, and again, it's got these same sort of key things. And I think kind of like the golden rule, treat others as you would treat yourself, or you'd want to be treated. You see this through all religions, you see this through all these programs. A lot of them have these same things as AA, as far as having this recovery, having this this confession portion, and then moving on through constructive tools that you have to use every day. Because if you don't use the tools every day, they're meaningless.